been doing a little sanding while I was drinking my coffee this morning. Again, forgetting to turn the camera on. But anyway, good morning everybody. All I'm doing now is the epoxy that I put in here to fill that gap. You know, it made a bubble. I mean, not a bubble, but it was higher all the way around than the actual lure. So now I'm just going across and getting it more level. This will take a few steps. You'll never get it perfect until it is perfect. So you just got to keep working at it. There's always going to be little dips and divots because things settle different. Eventually you'll get to the point where it'll fill in with primer. And that's what I'm getting to, or trying to get to. I'm using 600 grit, just so it gets the job done a little quicker. I'm not going to resand the whole lure again with 600. I'm just doing right here, just to make sure that's really level. It's going to take a little while. I've been going at it for a little while. In fact, I'm on my second cup of coffee. So I've been going at it for a little bit here. I got pretty lucky that the two pieces actually went together really smoothly. It's almost like they were meant to be together. The body shape, everything, the way it bellies out on the sides, on both sides, everything is exact. It's almost like they made one and then cut it in half and made two out of it. It's kind of weird how it all fit together so perfect. I really did not expect that. I expected it to not fit at all, and I was going to have to fill it and probably scratch the whole idea because it'd be so much filler that it wouldn't work as a lure. You know, one good bite by a big fish and snap the thing right in half. But it worked out really well. Just went together real nice. I mean, you've seen it took a little bit of shaping. They weren't an exact fit, but it wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be. Nowhere near as much as I thought it was going to be. A little bit of Dremel work just to get the two pieces so they touch everywhere. The more surface you have between this piece and this piece that actually touch together when you glue them, you're much better off. If it only glued on the edges and you had a big gap in the middle, and you tried to fill all that with glue, it wouldn't work. It would eventually break. You gotta have plastic touching everywhere, or you should, to get the best bond. And you have to rough up the plastic. Before I glued the two pieces together, I took my Dremel and just roughed it up to get all the paint off and to put deeper scratches in it so the glue would get in the scratches on both pieces, and then it really becomes impossible to break. The glues today, the epoxies today, it's incredible how strong they are. Even the super glues out today, I probably could have put this together with super glue, to tell you the truth. I'm sure it would have stayed as long as I prepped the plastic just the same as I did with the epoxy. You know, clean it up really good, sand it up really good, and do the exact same process I did with the epoxy. I could do it with super glue. I bet it would have stayed. But for sure, to fill this, if I use super glue and baking soda, that would have been perfect, instead of just refilling it in with epoxy, because I'm going to paint it anyway. All I'm really doing now is making sure that there's a smooth transition between the two pieces. Making sure this piece smoothly goes right into this piece, which it pretty much does already. But anywhere you see where there's no paint on the lines, but then there's paint right there, that's really close. This needs to be shaped a little bit more. That means it didn't quite fit together. There's a little dip right there. So I'll have to work that slowly back and forth like this until that becomes round. And then it becomes perfect. Same right here. There's a little bit of white paint along the edge and a little bit of gray paint along this edge. All that. Once that disappears, then these two pieces will be perfectly in line. Alright, I decided to give it a dip and clear coat after I sanded it all to 1000. I dipped it into the clear coat just because I knew it would make it crystal clear and you'd be able to see inside there and see where the two pieces are actually joined together and see how clean it came out. Don't worry about the paint right here. That's like a little shoulder that I couldn't sand. There's really no point in sanding all this out, and all the rest is clear. By dipping it in clear coat, it made it perfectly level all the way. It's so smooth right now. I can just barely feel the transition between the two pieces. Slightly. It came out that good. On the top, I can't feel it at all. It's really smooth up there. And a little bit on the side here, and a little tiny bit over here. But the joint is just perfect. I can't believe how smooth it is all the way around. And by dipping it in clear coat, that actually helped fill in what little bit of crevice might have been left between the two pieces joining together. That filled in the seam even more. So I'm going to sand this now with 1000 and get it, the whole thing sanded 1000 grit. And I might dip it one more time in clear just so I'm for sure certain that this seam is filled up. I want it completely filled smooth even before I prime it, so the primer lays flat, because I don't want to prime it any more than one time, because the primer is actually thicker than the clear coat, and I'll lose a lot of the detail, like in these little toes and all the little carving details. I'll lose it if the primer's too thick. So I'd rather fill the crevice that it makes where the seam is with the clear coat. But anyway, we're going to sand this a little bit, and with this 1000 here. But I really just wanted to show you how perfectly clear it came out. just by sanding it with 1000 grit. I didn't go up any higher. I have 3000 grit in these two, but I may do that at the end. Probably not, because it's a fishing lure. It's not a car. But just with the 1000, it came out that perfect and that smooth. I like it. Now we're going to make it look dull by doing what I'm going to do right now. Just go over the whole thing. And you kind of, that's how you really tell. Just by sanding it. Again, you'll know where the highs and the low spots are because it'll be shiny. You can see where I sanded. And you can see in the crack right there where it's joined together, that little tiny shiny spot. That's because there's a little bit of an indentation and the sandpaper's not getting down in there to hit that. So I'll know right away where I need to make sure there's more clear coat to fill it. For the most part, by sanding it right now, just take it out of this. Put that in there just so it's easier to show you guys. I don't even know what I was saying. Lost track of what I was saying. But, oh yeah, for the most part, I'm just going to sand right here to make sure it's smooth. Where the seam goes together. There it is. Now I just go over the rest of it really lightly. Just to make sure the next coat will adhere a little bit. Have something to grab hold of. Alright. This is what it has become. It is now one piece with one paint, and it actually looks like it was made that way. It's hard to believe that that was two pieces with a joint in the middle. Came out pretty good. There's a couple of little indentations where you can see that, you know, it was joined, but it's a fishing lure. It's not a car. I mean, I could have spent a lot more time. I could still fix that, and I may. It's just a matter of putting a little filler in there. But it's solid. It is solid one piece with the epoxy I put it on there. It'll break other places before it breaks there. That's for darn sure. But it's a straight line proportion, so it's going to glide. It's going to go, I mean, the head's not, it didn't go on crooked. Everything lined up nice and straight. And I did it all by eye. I just kind of guessed. Here, let's take it out of this. I just kept checking it and looking at it as I was gluing it, because you really had to squish the hell out of it. If you remember, I said that when I had the Dremel and I was carving out what I needed to carve out to get it to fit together, I put on a coarse disc, and the inside of these pieces, all four sides, 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, were roughed up really good. And then when I put the epoxy in there and squished it together, it filled those cracks and crevices that I made with the Dremel. So it's really biting. I mean, it's probably the strongest part of the whole lure, for sure. And then worked it and worked it and worked it until it became one piece. I primed it white to start with, and then right at the end, I was almost done, it started spitting. You can see the white primer. It started spitting. There was nothing, I wasn't at the end of the can either. It was plenty full enough. And it was looking great too. Nice thin coating. It was so nice. But it started spitting really heavy, so there's you can see a little bit of the roughness right here. And I actually sanded it down. And I didn't have any more primer all I had was a matte finish gray, and I thought, well, I was kind of go with a rat look anyway, more so than a mouse. So I'm going to make it a gray rat, and this isn't even going to be the gray. It's just a base coat. So there may be some shades of this coming through, but this isn't going to be the primary shade. I just needed a base coat, and I really wanted to see what it looked like, one color completely put together as one piece. So it could have been black right now for all I care. I just wanted to see what it looked like as one piece and see if I needed to do any more filling. And I may, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there's a slight little, right in front of my finger right there, there's a little bit of a indentation, and then same on this side right there where the two pieces were. I got it a little bit too flat, so it's not rounded when I put them together anymore. It wasn't a round piece, so it made a little bit of a dent there. I got carried away with the Dremel, which is easy to do with a Dremel, but still, all in all, first time ever doing that. That come out pretty good, and I'm really impressed with this. If you remember, it was just a big square bill, huge square bill. I cut it this way, and then cut it this way, and then cut it that way, and then shaped it all. And it's going to protect where the line will clip in right here. If it hitting the ground, it happens to hit the ground or whatever, it won't hit right here where the line is. So it'll help protect that. I have thought about, once I got it that far, to bring it right down to the lure and just make it, the rat. But it might help make it do a little bit of action or something, who knows. But once I got it down that far, I realized, hey, that kind of protects the line when it clips in there, so let's just leave that. So I did. Anyway, this is it. Now, this is the last clip of construction. It's set up now for paint, so the very next clip will be painting this to look like a rat. Get the airbrushes out, get the paint mixed up, and away we go.